Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting.
Consistently attract soulmate clients. Begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spots that activate your soulgasmic business. Enjoy this light language activation as we begin to magnetize and monetize. Welcome, my loves. I am so happy that you are here. This episode is for you, and let me tell you, I wish I had heard this episode back in 2008 and before. This is for you if you are a woman who's struggling with her body, whether it's your body image, your weight, your hormones, maybe you're experiencing chronic pain in your body. This is for you if you're struggling in your relationship with food and you're feeling like you're a prisoner with food. You feel like it controls you rather than you are feeling in control of food. This is for you if you're on that roller coaster of diet, depriving yourself cycle, counting calories, over exercising. That was me, to battle either the bulge, or you just in your mind you think that you're not fit enough, skinny enough, lean enough, whatever that is, insert that enough, and you're finding yourself feeling way too freaking obsessive with food, your workout routine, and it just feels like it's all consuming in your life. So if you're like, yes, this is absolutely for you, then. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to introduce you to one of my dear soul sisters who I have had the honor to not only meet here locally in Kelowna, but also have developed a wonderful friendship with. I've also experienced her in her magic as a facilitator and also her amazing Thai massages. So we're going to jam a little bit more about that. Welcome, Katharina Kunz. Let me share with you a little bit more about Katharina. She is a personal trainer and a women's transformational coach. She calls herself a one-stop body shop, and you'll hear a little bit more about this. And this is all about not just your body, but also your mind and with spirit. So finding body freedom through self-devotion rather than self-discipline alone is what she's all about. Exploring a more feminine approach to fitness and aligning with our moon cycle rather than trying to do the same thing every day. Hello, this is that's not how we are wired, and we are cyclic in nature. So Katharina is going to share a little bit more about this perspective on how we can tap into our deep ecology of the feminine to unleash our potency. And she offers one-on-one and group fitness, health coaching, and healing modalities, along with retreats, workshops, online embodiment programs, and the Body Freedom membership. So we also have a freebie, which is going to be so juicy. She's going to tell you about that at the end of this episode. But let's first welcome Katharina. Hi, hello, love. I'm so happy that you're here. This is a perfect time because right now, as we're recording this live, it is December, and we're like literally mid-December, and this is a time where there's lots of Christmas parties and festivities. There's lots of we'll say treats and indulgences around, and I'm gonna guess that there's a lot of women who are struggling with this time, especially if they've been in that dieting world. And then all of a sudden, I know for myself, it's just like when I used to really struggle with my relationship with my body and food, this was a really hard time for me. So, anyway, I am so happy you are here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and to all those of you watching, to be able to share this space with you. Super grateful.
Oh, so good. And we met actually, I believe, on Facebook first. And we had Facebook friended each other. It must have been like mutual friends.
Valerie.
Through Val, that's right. Valerie
Mm-hmm.
McTavish, the confidence coach, another
Yeah.
beautiful local friend who's been on my show as well. And we then met, I remember,
One Woman Wellbeing.
One Woman Wellbeing event. And you were wearing this amazing, furry, funky vest. Oh my gosh, Katharina has like the best style. See, she's wearing it again. And I was like, I love your vest. And then we're just like, wait a minute. Don't we know each other? You look familiar. Oh, we're friends. We haven't even had a chat yet. And it's the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And that was last year.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So please share a little bit more about you and your journey and how you got to be who you are today and be doing the magic that you're creating in the world.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, and it's been a journey. I have always been a body person, in the sense that I loved doing activities. I loved playing sports. I loved doing things that just moved my body, dancing. And when I went to school after high school and took a 2-year program as fitness leadership, I really didn't know what I was going to do with it, because back then, this is like 28 years ago. Well, I guess longer, because I graduated. So it's like close to 30 years ago. There I go. I'm dating myself. There was no.
Believe how old Katharina is, though. When you are you okay to say, like,
oh yeah, I'm 51. Yeah, 51. Yep. And when I turned 50, I was like, yeah, I'm 50. Holy cow.
That's how I'm gonna feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So just, when I first got into this field, it was something that was glamorous. It was something that was for the stars. And I didn't know how I was going to land where I did. I just knew that I was living into my passions. I was living into the things that I wanted to explore more of. And ultimately, it brought me into personal training. And at the time, I was in my 20s. So, I thought, well, I'm doing the things. I'm eating right. I'm exercising. I'm doing all the things I should be. And I was experiencing dis-ease in my body. I was feeling anxious. I was bloated. I was constipated. I was not feeling radiant. I was not feeling good. I had no period. I had gone through a bout of anorexia in my teenage years. And when my period came back, I went on the pill right away. And so when I went off the pill, 10 years later, I lost my cycle for 6 years. And yes, my period didn't have a chance to regulate itself. And I lost it because I didn't have enough body fat. And when it came back, I was also going through a real emotional upheaval. So like really starting to understand the connection between our 4 bodies, right? We have a physical body, and that happens to be the avenue through which I help others to access wherever their bodies might be, their access point. It might be their mental body. It might be their emotional body. It might be their spiritual body. But the physical body is my avenue. And so by really diving into it and really exploring all of the interconnectedness, I realized my emotional body, I had never really evolved my emotional body, because I grew up with parents who, had to flee the war, and they were on survival. Like, they're not going to tell me how to show me how by their own example, right? So when I started to explore my inner world, when I really dove in, I was going through a divorce at the time, and it was really like a death. And when I finally went in, and it's like, I liken it to this. So if you're standing on the edge of a cliff in fog, right, and you have to jump, right? There's somebody coming after you. You got to jump. You got to trust. There's this trust that there. And jumping into the abyss, and like what I realized is like all the anticipation, all the fear, and then it's like jump. Oh, the ground's right there, right? And so in that experience, and knowing that the more and more I allow myself to go into the uncomfortable feelings, because that's really what my anorexia was about pushing down the uncomfortable feelings, because the feeling of fullness was that feeling that that helped me to be familiar. It was a familiar discomfort. So by stuffing the emotions down, like even though it was uncomfortable, it's like, well, I know what that is. And then that distracted me from having to feel, right? So having those bouts of, you know, binging and then realizing that this isn't working. And at a young age, when I was 16, I went to school. I guess I was 14. I went back to school after grade 8, and I kind of blossomed over the summer. And I was the same girl I was 2 months prior, but all of a sudden I got all this attention from the boys. So the messaging I got was that I'm only valuable for my body. And that was what began that whole journey. And so here we are at Christmas time, and this is an emotional time of year for a lot of people, right? So that's where the emotional eating can really, really come in. And we're surrounded by all these treats, and we don't want to deprive ourselves because it is Christmas. Why can't I have, you know, some cookies and cake and some eggnog and all of that stuff, which we can. And it's also about connecting and aligning with our relationship with. We're in relationship with everything, relationship with food, relationship with ourselves, of course, relationship with each other, but everything is what the meaning, nothing has meaning except for the meaning and significance we give it. So how do we?
Okay, hold on. Can you say that again? Because that feels really, really powerful for us to let land.
Yeah, yes. Nothing has meaning and significance other than the meaning and significance you give it. And that's really those perspectives, those lenses through which we see everything. And it's often our stories of the past that are that lens that we that now go, oh, this is going to happen again. Or, like I'm looking through that perspective of like, so how do we put on a new, and sometimes it literally putting on like some funky, fun glasses.
Which you have a whole treasure trunk of. But you know, it really is, because the way I say that is everything is neutral until you put meaning to it. So every situation, every person is neutral until we put meaning to it. And how we do that is based on our belief system. And so it's like, oh, where's our belief system come from? Where do those beliefs come from? Usually our past informs our present, right? And so it's like, does it still serve and support, or do I need to shift this? So yeah, I really love what you just shared.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and it's recognizing that we are all on this journey. We're all on this evolution of self, and we need to give ourselves the grace that we give everybody else.
Right.
And this was a game changer for me after moving to Kelowna and having gone through massive transition of leaving all my clients, leaving my parents, my elderly parents. My father wasn't well, and emerging in Kelowna, where my stepdaughter, her mother, was passing. And like just jumping into this whole new world while transitioning from another world, and really having to like give myself the space. And then in that time, as I was going through my own, what I call chrysalis moment, is like when I made the decision to actually just really honestly give myself the grace that I give everyone else, it changed my world. Because I did it. I did every moment that I wanted to say, oh, Katharina, blah, 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 blah. That self-judgment, or I should be doing more, or just to give myself that grace. It doesn't mean I'm going to be lazy and I'm going to, you know, sit and watch Netflix 24 hours a day and do nothing, right? It's like, no, I can do what I need to do, and I can trust myself. And give and out of devotion to this emerging self, what am I allowing for to give that space for that blossoming? But we need to have that dormancy sometimes first. We need to have that sitting in, allowing that seed to germinate and to really, what is it that you want to birth in your life? What version of self?
You know, and it's so, let me share what, like with our audience, that is one of the most difficult and uncomfortable places to be, when we really look at what is it if I just like, blank canvas, you know, nothing else matters in terms of what other people think, what my body image looks like, and how I feel about it. But like, what is it that I actually want to feel? How do I actually want to live my life? And for me, I remember it was like, I knew deep down inside, because I got into bodybuilding for all the wrong reasons. Those of you who've been following me for a while, like, it's very much part of my brand story. And that was back in 2008. And I remember standing here competing on this figure bodybuilding stage. Like, I finally quote unquote arrived and I have this quote unquote perfect body, and on the outside my life looked completely quote unquote perfect. So I had, you know, all the check marks I've wanted to check off in terms of societal success, quote unquote. And so when I came into last place, that was like the most devastating moment, because how could I, in my mind, I'm like, how could I have worked so hard to achieve all that I have achieved and I'm not awarded for this? And it made me really, well, had a breakdown. And it made me have to step back and look at reevaluating. How can I continue life like this? I keep beating myself up secretly. I keep secretly binge eating and then purging by over exercising. Like, this can't be the rest of my life. Like, no. And so I just want to deeply say I appreciate you, Katharina, for how you hold space in the world for women, like my former version of me. And for me, I remember one of the tiniest things, but so big, was allowing myself to eat sugar. Because I was the kind of person that would at the time eat Splenda and all that fake shit. And because I didn't want to have sugar and then have it turn to fat, like, oh my God. And I didn't want to have peas, corns, and carrots because they're too high in calories. Oh my God. and sugar content. And so it was so freeing when I allowed myself to have real, like, brown sugar, a healthier sugar, and make a salad dressing out of it. And it was so delicious. And I remember I was like literally having a foodgasm and actually being really present. I was working through my self-love through experimenting with food and like breaking my own rules that I imposed on myself and what I, you know, have learned through the bodybuilding dieting world that are so toxic to us. So I just want to say, like, that for me was perhaps, like, you call it a chrysalis moment, where it's just like, I'm really giving myself this grace. I'm really giving myself this permission. And, you know, I'm going to give myself that permission to eat peanut butter, which was a no-no. And it just, I could feel the discomfort, and I allowed myself to mindfully enjoy it and take it in and watch my thoughts of negativity and the like, this is so wrong, and not give that power. So to me, I want to illustrate that's how grace can look like. It's not the only way, but that's how I would see, that's how I gave myself grace, was not to listen to that food critic inside myself, that body critic, and just break these rules so that I can move to the other side.
Beautiful. Yes. And I love your story. I've heard your story a few times in different ways, right? It always comes out in different ways. And just how you've inspired women and continue to inspire in the way that you show up. And you say you say from where you've come from and that whole bodybuilding and the deprivation. And here you are just living in the full example.
It's a lot of amazing, beautiful inner work. So thank you.
For sure. Yeah. And then it's connecting into, like, for me, it's like when you were talking about the Splenda and all the fake sugars and all that stuff, right? Like, and our bodies are so intelligent, right? And we think that getting this fake thing to it is going to trick it somehow, right? And sweet is sweet, whether it's a 0-calorie sweet or whether it's, you know, a natural honey or brown sugar or something like that. It's like when we start to tap into the intelligence of what we are, not just who we are. There is a whole other landscape, a whole other possibility. And that's where that curiosity piece comes in. I talk about the way through, the way to get to that side, what that self that you're wanting to experience. Like, how do you align with that self now? First of all, it's like meeting yourself where you are. So it's getting to that place of willingness to face whatever's going on in your world right now without having to beat yourself up for it. Yes. And then from that space of that willingness and then like that out of curiosity, I'm curious about what it really means to be Katharina. Like, how can I really like push all those edges of what she's all about? And like, I only get to be Katharina once. And nobody ever gets to be Katharina. So like, why don't I like just like full on go for it, right? With all of her idiosyncrasies and her quirks and her all of
Yes.
those things, it's like owning that. It's like, I'm a dork. I figured this out a couple years ago.
I love your dorkiness.
My sense of humor is so dorky. And my husband, he's got all these choices when he's telling something. Like, I'm always busting a gut because he's like all over the map and everything is just like perfectly orchestrated. And I got one thing coming across my screen and I say it and I'm like, sorry, that's all that came across the screen. Right? So how do we get into this place of curiosity about ourselves and about this like the deep ecology of the feminine? That's really what it's about, is that, you know, we live in a very masculine world already. And how do we embrace and honor the feminine that we are and move in that way and speak in that way? And what are we listening to? What are we speaking into? What are we exposing ourselves to? The beliefs and the perspectives. Like, how can I put on a new lens? Right? You can always put your other lens back on, but get curious enough to try new lenses and see, like, really spend some time there and go like, wow, okay, what if I did live my life through this perspective? What if where do I really want to be? And how do I start moving, thinking, feeling, eating, sleeping as if I was already there? And then align the actions to the way you want to feel. That feeling piece, right? That's where that pleasure, right? And really getting into that place of what's possible, right?
Absolutely.
And that negative self-talk and the old stories, the old lenses is what inhibits us, because we can't create that wonderment when we are already encasing it in something that is restricting.
I love that word, wonderment. It's, if we look at children, right, they're always in wonderment. I feel like I that's one of my strengths, or that curiosity, that like, wow, I'm seeing things for the first time with these eyes. When I go travel, it's like, wow, like we all have that sense of wonderment. It's still in us, and it's applying it to your everyday life in a new way. Or if we want to look at it, it's almost like you're going into a role as an actor and you're going, let's see what it would be like if I was going to character as if I'm living my best life, right? How would I approach this? And I even did a reframe this morning. I noticed I was a little bit grouchy. I know, you guys, I actually do get grouchy. I've been doing some clearing work, and so it's been bringing up stuff. I'm like, oh, but I literally stopped myself because I noticed I was complaining, and I was like, I'm not available for this. So I just said out loud, and my husband was doing his thing in the kitchen. I'm like, I am so grateful for, and I started listing all the things I'm grateful for. And health was one of the first things. I'm so grateful for my breath. I'm so grateful I get out of bed. I'm so grateful for this kitchen and the food and the abundance it brings. And it literally just shifted me within a minute. So yeah, it's really like looking at one of our viewers, Leah. I love, she's one of my clients. She's like, no, you are serious? You're grouchy. Oh girl, yes. I just asked my kids and my husband. And in every moment we get to choose. We get to meet ourselves, and we get to choose how we want to meet ourselves. Do we want to meet ourselves in the confined, restricted, contained ways where we are holding ourselves back? Or do we want to choose wonderment and stay curious and experiment with life? So I love this so much. And I imagine that's like the first step you help with your clients, is like really stripping away the ego and the looking at the beliefs.
Yeah. And to get out of the battle of the thing, like the wanting and always being in the wanting and never in the having. And I'm launching a program in the new year called the Chrysalis program. And I called it the Chrysalis because how do we make magic out of mayhem, right? How do we create?
Is that what chrysalis means?
Well, chrysalis is where the caterpillar becomes, it's the cocoon. Yes. So they can be moments like death, divorce, like big, big life-changing moments. But they can also be, what happened to me this year was just this, like, I just feel like I need to go in. I feel like I love what I'm doing. I love what I'm creating, but I feel like I need to relanguage it. It needs to evolve because I've evolved. And I'm trying to bring my evolved self into another kind of expression, because that's what I've been doing. And so I needed to go in and just like, okay, what wants to emerge? What do I want to allow for? And because I've been in chrysalis moments, we all have, it's like knowing like, okay, now, especially in this space where, it wasn't heavy, it wasn't a death, it wasn't something that heavy, yet allowing for that emergence to, and in that, and if you think about a chrysalis, that's like, it's messy and gooey. Like this caterpillar is going in, and I know I'm going to fly on the other side because we've been through these moments. So can I let myself get a little messy and a little bit undone, right?
That is the hardest part. That's that first piece. It's like, being in so much control over your food, over your life. Yes. Like there is something that higher power is asking us to surrender, to let go, to embrace that mess, to get that blank canvas to be messy. That's the hardest part. But once we're in it, it's like, okay. And let me tell you, don't do it alone.
Yeah. For sure. And that's why, like, reach out to your sisters. Of course, you've got your family. If you have some family you can lean into, and friends, but it's also like, and lean into coaches and lean into people who can support
Katharina. Just want to say it.
Yeah, lean in for sure, 100%. And that, like for me in the journey of, becoming a personal trainer and then realizing that there was so much more to explore, I got help. I hired people to help me to get through that emotional issue.
We all need our sisters.
And then realizing I need to integrate this in how I'm helping my clients. Right.
Yes.
So I'm a comprehensive health coach. I can help you get into the metabolic mayhem and all the underlying roots of what's going on so that you can get to the results you want. But the chrysalis program is all about understanding the cracks in your foundation. That if you're building your body temple, how many times have you like almost got there, or you get there and then you like, it's the sabotage. It's these cracks, these subconscious belief systems that we have. And how do we finally heal those cracks so that when they rear their face, we'll be able to see them, go, oh, there, I see you, right? You don't need to, you don't get to, infiltrate my foundation.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. That's so powerful that it's like, with those cracks, that's why we're left wanting, rather than let's stay here and let's go deeper and let's really fill those cracks up with a different way of being, a different way of holding ourselves and letting ourselves be held in this messy journey. So I love this. When we come back, we're going to move into commercial, but when we come back, I'd love to continue this conversation, and particularly let's talk a little bit more about how you use the power of our moon cycle with regards to this.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay.
Om Times TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
Are you feeling maxed out working one-on-one with clients and you're deeply desiring to scale your business for more time freedom without sacrificing your income, but rather expanding it? Many of my clients who are lightworkers, healers, practitioners, and even coaches, they're often multi-modality, are coming to me because they are sick and tired of working with clients on a one-off session model where the clients are coming in on as-need basis. Or if they're selling packages, they are selling them in the sense of buy 5, get 1 free, or the greater the number of sessions, the greater the discount. The problem with this is it's still a dollar for hours business model. And so that leaves the practitioner feeling really exhausted and overwhelmed from having to put so much time, effort, and energy in finding new clients that they're not operating in their most elevated self with their current clients. And so if this is you, I would love to share with you that it's time to elevate your business and scale it to sell high ticket one-on-one programs or even group programs. This will allow you to have more deeper impacts because you're raising your clients' results, you're scaling your business, and you're having that time freedom you deeply are yearning for. If this is resonating with you, love, I'd love to invite you to come on a soul business alignment call with me so that you can stop feeling like you're on this roller coaster ride and start to feel safe and stable and even having fun in your business and your finances. Please go to electrifymybusiness.com to apply and we'll hop on a call. I can't wait to connect.
If I could be you and you could be me for just 1 hour, if we could find a way to get inside each other's minds, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
All right, welcome back, my loves. Okay, so we are going to really continue what we've been talking about. I was going to say shift gears, but I'm like, no, it's the same gear. We're just going to move a little bit deeper. Now, Katharina, I'd love to have you share some of the maybe hormonal stuff that a lot of your clients share and get really about, and how you support them in using their moon cycle for their superpower.
Absolutely. Well, I know for myself in my own cycles and all the women that I've been training over the years, and one of the things that often happens, because as our hormones get dysregulated, we go to the same things that we think are going to get us better, which is diet more and exercise more, right? Less calories in, more exercise out. And we leave no room for our body to go, right? Our body is going to be in this mode of okay, I don't know when I'm going to get my next meal. You're putting all these demands on me. And so for myself, and I'm going to get into this cyclical part here in a moment, but for myself, it's about 15 to 17 years ago when I started to change up how I was doing things. And I'm like, okay, I've been in the gym since I was 16 years old. I'm like, why? It's like, I just put in the hour. It's like, why do I have to put in the hour? And I started to do these short 20-minute workouts, intense, but short. And realizing that the results I was getting was way better. I was getting leaner. I had healed my relationship with food. I was no longer controlled by that in any way. And so this is something that I still do this day. People think you must work out all the time. I'm like, no, I work out 3 times a week for 20 minutes. That's it. I don't do extra cardio.
That's it.
Yeah. I don't do extra cardio. I like to go for a walk. I like to go hiking. I like to go snowboarding, but it's not because I need to go get exercise. Right. So we as women, all as human beings, we all have this circadian rhythm, which is that natural rhythm, which aligns us with the whole sun cycle of when the sun arises and goes down. And that's where our melatonin is released. That's why getting outside first thing in the morning, getting that sunshine on your face is going to help set up the melatonin for the evening. So this daily cycle is a human experience. But for women, we also have this infradian cycle. And this cycle is our moon cycle. And whether you are menstruating or not, this still applies to you. You are still feminine in nature, right? So if you aren't menstruating, you can align yourself with the moon cycle. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So basically, when we're menstruating, like that's an inward time. That's a time, that's not the time to go do hard workouts. That's a time for gentle restorative yoga, gentle movements. You can still do some training, but just more gentle, 15 to 20 repetitions, a lot higher repetitions. And then as we move down in towards our ovulation cycle. So this is like the follicular phase is more like sort of that 15 to 20 reps. And then we're going to go into like the 10 to 12 reps kind of thing. And you can start introducing a little bit more as we get closer to ovulation. That's where like the HIIT workouts, the interval training, like the fast and hard, your body will respond well with that. That's also when we're frisky, when we're, that's why we, we are more sexually aroused at that time for a reason, right? Because that's when we're ovulating. That's when, nature takes its magic. And then as we move into more of the luteal phase, we can go into like kind of more the power training. That's where like the heavier weights and the more carbs in your diet. Like if you try to eat the same way all the time and move the same way all the time, because that's what, it says on this magazine or this, right? Because all the studies come from men. They don't study women and how they're naturally responding in this way. So when we start to honor those cycles and like we get a little bit more hungry during this second phase, that's where the carbs, like you can actually burn more calories in the second half of your cycle. And if you try to do the same thing and trying to eat salads in the middle of winter, like not to say you can't have any salad, but listen to the natural cycles of life. Yes. In the fall, like stews and soups and really listening in. The more that we tune into that deep ecology of our feminine, the more our body is going to respond in a way that feels vital and alive and energized, and our bodies will show up differently.
Yes.
And I've experienced it for myself, and I've witnessed it when we can just let go of that need for control and trust. This is how we begin to open that relationship with our bodies, to really trust that they know what we need and listen. Right? Put on a couple of pounds, and the way that our body holds weight, it could be water weight. It could be, it's not like you're going to like balloon up in 2 days because you had, you binge eat for a day, right? Like just get back on track and just listen in. Like, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'm not hungry right now. I don't also have to force myself just because it's breakfast, right?
Yes.
But we do not want to get in these habits of especially with fasting for women. You got to be careful. That's where maybe more intermittent fasting. I'm not a faster. I have a really robust metabolism. I don't want to mess with a good thing.
Yes,
right?
I cannot. I'm like, for me, juice cleanses do not work. I've tried twice and I end up binging like my body just doesn't like it. It's like, I'm so hungry. So I end up like binging after the juice cleanse. I'm like, the hell was the point? No. And it's not like a mental thing to me. It feels like my body, I just like did something really mean to it. And it doesn't like that, and I know my body. I've tried to go, maybe just more vegetarian and less meat, but my body doesn't like that. I literally get too lightheaded. And so it's really about listening and tuning in to that intuition. What does my body want? Not what I think I should eat, what I think, what other people are telling me, but like, what do I actually want? What's my body want?
Exactly. Beautiful. And it's bringing those, like the masculine and feminine. The masculine is very the action oriented, and whether you're male or female, you have masculine and feminine qualities. So that masculine is like the discipline, the actionable, the like driving towards your goals, right? And the feminine is more the creative, more of that flowy, more of that the lightness of that. So how I built my programs is like the chrysalis is the foundation, that solid foundation. The body temple blueprint, those are all the protocols. That's all the stuff that's going to get you back on track for your metabolic mayhem, like your hormones, your blood sugar, your adrenals, your thyroid, your gut health, all of that stuff. And those are protocols, they are. But we bring in that deep ecology of the feminine. So you got that yin and yang and those chrysalis moments that are going to arise in your life that are going to be contributing to your evolution. That this evolution of self, that you are multi-dimensional, you are multi-faceted in so many ways. So like trying to create that rigidity. So the discipline is important, but not without the self-devotion. And that's self-devotion. What are you willing to do out of devotion to this experience that you want to have in your body? And it brings in more playfulness. It brings in a lightness, right? And we all know what that feels like when we're feeling that, oh, and we're, this, counting those calories, or like, oh, that deprivation.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like, you and I are both, because we have food freedom, body freedom, we can be more free in our sense of playfulness because it's just who you become. Let's talk about how playful recently you were co-facilitating, because I feel like this is just so much fun. Well, so recently I was a participant with one of our soul sisters, Chelsea Martinek. She and I met because we have the same business coach, and then her and she's a client of yours, right?
Yes.
And so Chelsea held a self-love event, and I came to participate, and Katharina was one of the co-facilitators for the event. And please share what we did, because it was so playful. Oh my God, I feel like we should kind of bring that in.
Yeah. So Chelsea's part of a group of ladies that I do some training with. And I do one-on-one, but I also do group for this reason. And so there's this exercise I had a couple of the ladies do, because they have some neck stuff and not doing like core work where you're really having to hold up your head, and just with the ball, really pushing the edges of circling our hips and really feeling, because a lot of women can feel very disconnected from their womb area and from, areas of their body. So getting them into that. And I told her, I said, funny story. I actually, one of my hairdressers in Calgary, Diva Dave, he showcased his clients and we could share something. I did my flow meditation to other clients of his. And one lady came in and she showed us how to lap dance. And so I was like, oh, this is fun. And at the time I was part of this goddess group. So I was telling my goddess group about it. They're like, will you show us? I'm like, yes, I will. And then one of them's like, my friend's getting married. Will you do it at her stag? Yes. And all of a sudden I'm being hired out to be this like lap dancer. And it's so funny because when I first went to the stag, they were kind of looking at me sideways, almost like, is she really one of them? And realizing like, no, this is how it happened. I told them the story, and it wouldn't matter if I did, but and just like being in this playful space, how can we get into this playfulness, more playfulness? And so here we are, it was like 12 of us, I think, or 10 of us at this at Chelsea's
event.
And
yes,
so we were practicing with each other, right? So forward
lap dance. Yes,
forward the other
we're lap dancing on each other.
Right? And not take ourselves so seriously. Yes. And that there's no one right way. Like the way that I move doesn't mean that you have to move that way. Right?
Yeah.
So you just find your rhythm, find your flow, right?
And you did it so beautifully because you started with just the finger.
The finger dance.
Maybe we can like just have you lead us a little bit here. Would that be okay?
Well, if you keep your hand really still, it's just like, how much can I move the edges of my finger? Right. And as you're really like and you put some music on, right? Put some great music on. And then let a couple of the other fingers like get involved, right? And it's like, oh yeah. And then you start feeling like how much you can move. And then you're like, well, now the wrist really wants to get involved. Like, oh, yeah, right? And what if I do that with the other hand, right? And I start getting them dancing. And then, those elbows, those elbows, they start wanting to come in.
I bet the audience can't help but actually follow along with
it.
And we do encourage you to.
Right. And then you just start involving more and more parts of your body. And then but really explore the edges. Let it get weird, right? Let yourself get a little weird. And then the next thing you know, like your whole body, everything is just going for it.
Yes. And it feels so good when we let ourselves go. Because when we're doing this, your thoughts are going to come up. Your fear of other people judging you and seeing you move so weirdly.
Moving energy.
As soon as we let go of that and just give ourselves permission, be like, okay, I'm just going to go with it. It's so, you fall into that fun space. You fall into that playful space. You bring out that wonderment of like your body and you're moving it. Oh, it's so freeing. And that's, I feel like this is like the physicalization of that process of moving through, like having that breakthrough, be like, okay, I'm going to get past the weirdness. I'm just looking, my finger wiggling and just let it wiggle. Just let it be in this moment and just give myself permission. Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like when we're in preschool or kindergarten, like kids aren't worried about what other people are thinking as they're wiggling their bodies and that they're in their circle and we're all wiggling our bodies. But it's so sad that we lose that sense of permission to just be free and just like we hold ourselves back from so much, I feel.
Yes.
Right?
And you think about it, if you watch a woman walk into the room that is like, she just owns the space and she's just like
Yes.
radiating and she's smiling at you and she's beaming and she's
Yes.
just like, oh my God, I'm so glad to be alive. And she might be 50 pounds overweight. Do you notice that?
Matter.
Right? Then you have somebody that
Mhm.
walks in, maybe she's like a model, right? And she's kind of like insecure and a little bit like reserved and does, you know, it's not, the energy's not the
Yes.
same, right? And so what we find in the beauty of what's available in us, that, you know, that being sexy or that being attractive, or
Yes.
the things that we hyper focus on, right? It's like how I like to do this is like, if you look at a piece of paper and there's a tiny little dot on that paper, right? It's like you barely see it, but then we put it up like this, right? And we're like staring at that spot and we think it's something bigger than what it is, and it's just, that's all we can see is that,
Yes.
oh, my nose is too big, oh, my thighs are too whatever, right? And that's all we see. And then we act around it, like we act weird, and people are kind of like, what are you doing? And then they can maybe see
like
what
with my belly issues. Yeah, I hated my belly all my life, and it's only because when I was 11-ish, I remember my parents. I was not a misfit or anything, but my parents decided, hey, go to this etiquette class that was being held by Sears back in the day, and learn how to have some etiquette. They just wanted me to be quote unquote proper, whatever. So I remember that and I'm like this quiet, shy girl. So the teacher stood me in front of everybody, and I wasn't standing up straight. So my belly, which was, I was a small child, but I was never skinny. I, you know, proportion to how I am now. So I had a little bit of a belly protrudes. And I remember the teacher pointing out my belly, and my experience of it was she was pointing it out like it was wrong. And so I'm just like, and just from that day on, I till I, you know, in my 20s, until I started having like 2008, right, and started doing the work, I freaking hated my stomach. I was so self-conscious, but and that little dot you were just saying, that's exactly what was for me. So my whole world revolved around hiding my stomach or sucking it in and making sure it was sucked in and I had the right angles for pictures. Oh my God, it was so exhausting, Katharina.
Absolutely. And it affects us in every area of our life.
Yeah.
Right. So when we can free ourselves up in our bodies, we
Yeah.
can express that differently into our relationships, our family. We can express that differently into our business. Like, you know, look at you. You are the full, like, orgasmic experience of life happening inside of you.
Sure am.
And that wouldn't be happening if you know,
No.
if you were holding that
If I
still.
kept holding myself back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Please share with us. You have a really yummy, juicy, free offer. And I'm like, oh my God, please tell the world about it because every woman needs to know about this.
Thank you. Yes. So in January, on the 10th to the 13th, I am offering a free 4-day mini course called Your Body is a Wonderland. And this is really like, there's 4 days. So your body is a wonderland, your body is an evolution, your body is a ritual, and your body is a temple. And each day is really going to dive into those different bodies so that we can create that integration. I'm going to get into a little bit of those cracks. That we can explore at least one crack, and really how to bring the embodiment of that shift and transformation into your life, and how that can really help to support your evolution of self. And then in February will be the Chrysalis program, which will be that foundation piece that will take us into the body temple blueprint. Because all of us are individual. Each of us, it's not about following one way, that my medicine might be your poison and vice versa. So how do we really get to understand our unique blueprint? And that's the second phase of that program.
Beautiful. And so there's 4 days of this.
4
This
days.
is really powerful. So because this is, we're live streaming it right now. It's December 15th, 2022. This runs January 2023. Now, if you're listening after the free offer, that is okay. You can still connect with Katharina. I'm sure she's going to have some sort of freebie of some sort, or some way if you're like, we're getting a freaking freebie, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and if you can't make it live, register for it, because then you still can watch it afterwards. And for those of you who are watching here, you get an extra bonus. So, yes. So because this is a freebie that I'm offering to the world, but for you that are listening here, you also get my alignment scale workshop. And that is a workshop that I only offer in my Body Freedom community. My Body Freedom is an online membership to help women to move and eat and sleep and do all the things, meditate in that honoring of that feminine. So I only offer this workshop through that portal, and I'm going to give it to you. And basically what it is, instead of stepping on a scale every single morning to see what kind of day you're going to have, you're going to figure out what that mantra, what you're stepping into in your life. And we're going to do that left, right foot. You're going to really get clear on how you want to feel in your life and the actions you're going to do in order to feel that way. That's what you're going to step into.
I love that. I'm going to come and play. This is awesome. Yeah. Oh, it's so yummy. And how can people, well, we're going to put this in the show notes.
Yeah.
But if somebody's listening, it's going to be in the show notes, my loves. So make sure you go check the show notes, because you will see Katharina's, where you can follow her. Her name is spelled, I'm going to spell it out anyways, Katharina, and then her last name is Kunz. And your website, love?
My website is personalevolution.ca. And on there, you will also find your Bodies of Wonderland up at the top there as well. If you want to explore the membership, there's a page there as well. So, and you can reach out, there's also a connect, and you can just message me personally, and I'm happy to answer any questions or just have some time with you.
Oh, that's so potent and powerful. Yes, do follow this lady. She is amazing. I love you. I just want to say, I just love how, you show up in the world, how you really play full out, how you support and uplift women. And you really you're like myself, you're all about community. I mean, we went to your Halloween party, Dan and I, and it was so much fun to meet women that you had just met from networking, and you're like, come on over. I'm like, well, I would totally be the same way too. So I just love that about you. Now, we were going to do a meditation. I feel like we kind of did more of a playful movement, and I'm wondering, when the last 4 minutes here, if there is perhaps a short mantra, so it would be kind of like a shortened meditation, so that we can guide, and then just cue me at the very last minute to come in with some light language.
Okay, I'm just going to take a few minutes. So I'm just going to invite you to place your hand on your heart and closing your eyes, and just really tuning into that heartbeat, that rhythm that is your internal metronome, and then aligning that with your breath, bringing that breath in, imagining every cell in your body receiving that breath, twirling and swirling inside your cells. And on the exhale, any toxins, any old patterns and behaviors can be just released with the breath. Just following that rhythmic flow of breath, the breath breathing you. And then become aware of some of those subtle sensations in your body, like the vibrating and tingling sensations. Really feeling the subtleness of that essence that is you in those vibrations. Feeling that with your heartbeat, aligning that with your breath. And then stepping into this place, the possibility, or allowing yourself fully to feel a deep reverence for being alive in this body, at this time, in this space. And then you're going to take your hands, you're going to rub them together vigorously, so you start feeling that heat generating between your palms. Then you're going to take your hands, placing them over your eyes, inhale deeply. And then as you open your eyes, you're going to lift your hands away and open your eyes to a fresh perspective.
Beautiful. Let's just seal all of this beautiful energy in with light language. For the highest truth and good. filling yourself up with this wonderment, with this love, with positive thoughts. Breathing in, suspending your breath, so you're filling yourself up with this wonderment, these beautiful intentions that you're setting with yourself, with what's resonating so deeply within you and from the conversation here. And then on your exhale, just really breathing out as if your breath are roots of a tree, grounding your beautiful energy, your intentions for the highest truth and good into Mother Earth. Just regulating your breath. Beautiful. Notice your body, notice the sensations, notice how you feel. There's no right or wrong. You might feel tingly, you might feel light, you might feel more opened, you might feel more powerful. Beautiful. We'd love to hear your takeaways from this episode. Do post your comments under this video. If you're on podcast, if you're on Apple iTunes, please do leave a review. Your reviews help and it gives us great feedback. And do follow Katharina. Go and grab her freebie. Join us in that 4-day event. Oh, it's gonna be so juicy, and the workshop as well. Oh, thank you so much, love. I'm so happy that we were able to have this beautiful conversation and share it with the world.
Me too. Thank you so much, beautiful.
Mwah.
And to all of you, thank you for tuning in and sharing this space.
Beautiful. Thanks, my loves.